that our children, Olivia and Richard, aged 4 and 5 then, were not going to lose the actual personality or the achievement of their father. So I knew that the Spitfire was part of the family and it was going to be an enormous struggle, but I would learn to fly the Spitfire and keep it going in memory of him.
As this plane has 2 sets of controls, our trainee pilots fly for themselves. But it won't just be a quick jaunt around the park. The pilot selected for the full 9 hours will be pushed all the way to full combat manoeuvres via the disciplines of navigation and formation flying. They will be pushing the Spitfire close to its limits. And while nobody will be shooting at them, they will get a glimpse of some of the biggest hazards facing fighter pilots. But even in 1940, not every pilot got to fly a Spitfire. So only the 2 most promising will get the chance to fly it, and just one will then be selected for the 9 hours battle training. Their first challenge, however, will be to convince flight instructor Brendan that they have the right stuff, and like their predecessors, they will have to do it in a Tiger Moth. Our 4 young pilots will begin their journey to become Spitfire pilots here at Headcorn Airfield in Kent, where they will have their piloting skills tested on exactly the plane used by many of their Battle of Britain predecessors, the Tiger Moth. They will be in the hands of flying instructor Brendan O'Brien, who will then make the tough decision which of the 4 pilots will go on to fly the Spitfire.
Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to Headcorn Airfield, the first morning's briefing. My name's Brendan O'Brien and I'm going to be your instructor on the Tiger Moth for the next several days. Now, I think you all know why you're here, but just to recap, OK? You're all going to fly with me on the Tiger Moth over the next few days, yeah? 2 of you then will be selected to go on to fly the Spitfire. Out of those 2, 1 will be selected to do advanced flying training and aerobatics on the Spitfire. At the end of that time, that person will have a very good idea of what it was like to be a young fighter pilot during World War II.
The first to clamber into the cockpit is Christian. The Tiger Moth made an excellent basic training aircraft during the 30s, as it is said to be easy to fly, but hard to fly well.
You really get this feeling, the smell and like the old smell. It's just like being back in 1940s. And the airport here where we're at now is such an old-fashioned airport. You might, if you shut your eyes, you might as well be back in the 1940s.
Fuel on.
Fuel on.
Throttle set.
Throttle set.
Contact.
Contact.
It's sort of always been in the family, really. My granddad flew Spitfires. So I'd go to their house and I'd see pictures of him by aircraft on the walls. So it was always there from a young age. And then as I got older, I got involved with the Air Training Corps. And sort of got a little bit more flying there to see what it's like. And the more I found out about it, the more enthused I've been to carry on, really.
Yeah, I used to read a lot of history books about the First World War and the Second World War, and things like Biggles books and all the old stories about pilots and the sort of the olden times flying, like Tiger Moths, obviously, and Sopwith Camels and things like that. I got really interested in it, and then obviously went on and joined the Air Force later on in life.
Many Battle of Britain pilots earned their wings on Tiger Moths before moving on to advanced trainers and then Spitfires or Hurricanes.
It's all that an elementary trainer should be, but it was a nice aircraft to fly, aerobatic, and because they had so much lift that they bounced about the sky, so that if you're doing formation flying, it's much harder to keep position in the formation. Overall, I'd give it 8 out of 10, I'd say.
Okay, you have control.
High control.
Have a good look around, check that it's all clear.
It's clear.
Jolly good. So just lower the nose, elevate your control speed, power controls ascent and descent.
Okay.
Good. Off you go from there then.
The Tiger Moth will give Brendan a clear idea of each of our pilots' flying abilities, whilst giving them a vivid first impression of the realities of 1930s RAF fighter pilot training.
Okay, all yours, dear old boy. You can side slip down, yes?
Okay.
Whoa,
sorry,
shit.
Sorry.
No, a little bit more subtly, like that. And you're about to flick into the ground, mate, okay?
Just 10 years before the outbreak of war, The RAF's frontline fighters weren't that different from the Tiger Moth. In 1929, the best the RAF had to offer was the Bristol Bulldog, a lightly armed biplane capable of just 174 miles per hour. But with Germany starting to rearm, it became alarmingly clear this would have to change.
The middle of the 1930s saw a revolution in the design of fighter aircraft. A move away from a biplane that was made of wood and doped fabric to an all-metal monoplane. And the prime reason for that was the need for speed.
In 1930, the Air Ministry rose to the threat, calling for a fighter capable of 250 miles per hour and carrying 4 machine guns. Aircraft designers considered this virtually impossible, and even the pilots had their misgivings.
There was an awful bias against monoplanes. You know, they reckoned without a top wing bolted to a bottom wing, the wings would fall off.
The speed of them was perceived initially by a lot of people as being potentially beyond the control of the ordinary human being, and it was thought that they were so fast that they would only be able to make one quick pass, and then they'd be gone. There were those who believed that the manoeuvrability and flexibility of the biplane was such that it should be maintained for effectively dogfighting purposes.
Christian has survived his first flight in the Tiger Moth and is beginning to see why generations of pilots think so highly of them.
How was your first flight in Tiger?
I tell you what, absolutely brilliant. It's a different world up there. There's so much better visibility and it's so responsive. And you need so much better coordination with the rudders and the stick on this as you would do. And it's not very forgiving, so you've got to be really in tune with the rudder and the ailerons. But it's absolutely brilliant.
Now he's set the standard, it's up to the others to impress Brendan.
Okay, you have control.
I have control.
Lower your nose.
Lower the nose.
Accelerate. Yep. Don't rush. And rolling. Keep it going, keep it going. Relax on the runners. That was fine. You'd have been absolutely perfect there.
There's not pressure.
Just relax. Do the same thing without all the aggression and the aggressive pulling in. On you go. Pull and roll. That's it. Keep going, keep going. And roll now. That's the boy. Much better. Good feet too. Well done. Go. Don't stop me, Cal. Good. Not too hard, bit too hard.
Okay.
That's good, but just a bit hard and aggressive. Be smooth.
Okay.
Make love to the sky, do not shag it.
It was really good. I mean, it flies so much different to the aircraft that I've been used to flying, but it's amazing. It's very, very sensitive on the controls, especially on the sort of elevator, especially. But it's amazing with the wind in your face compared to sort of a closed cockpit. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
The whole experience was really good. I didn't think I fired particularly well. I struggled to get the attitude right, so I was constantly chasing things, but as an experience it was excellent. It was really, really good.
My landing was a bit heavy, certainly. The turns to start off with, I was wobbling all over the place, but later on I started to get the hang of it and started to get it turning coordinated turns, which was looked a lot better and felt right.
They may have been fun to fly, but it was clear that